everybody. Welcome back to the Inside Answering Legal podcast. I'm your host, Taryn Winter Brill. Just call me TWB. So if this is your first time tuning in, this is the podcast where we provide a behind-the-scenes look at all things answering legal, our 24/7 virtual receptionist service and customer experience. We are so excited because on today's episode, we're going to get to find out what really makes answering legal tick as we welcome one of our longtime staff members. Our guest knows the company virtually better than anyone, you might say, as she's been a part of the team for over a decade now. Gina Novellino, she's Vice President of Human Resources, joins me now. Gina, great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Likewise, super excited to chat with you because you've been there over a decade, so you know how the place operates, what makes it tick. So excited to dig in, as they say.
Yeah.
To kick things off, Gina, can you tell us a little bit about your early days with the company, what that was like, and from there, how your role and responsibilities have evolved over the years?
Sure. So I started as an agent. I was probably like employee number 5. Personally, I never heard of a call center or answering service. I was going to John Jay at the time, and I met somebody on the train. I came in for an interview, and I actually had an interview with the CEO at the time, and it just like clicked right away. I'm like, I want to be here. I love the energy of these people. And it was so interesting to me. I've never heard of a answering service for attorneys. It was a whole new world for me. And so I started being an agent, and I worked part-time while I went to school, and then I graduated, and they needed human resources. And I was like, hey, I'm here to help. And it just kind of evolved that way. I've been growing as the company grows. The more we take on, I take on. And it's just been really exciting and cool to be a part of.
Absolutely. I love the energy that you're bringing through the screen right now. You can really hear it in your voice, your passion. And the fact that you've been there for 10 years, that passion's been sustained and the excitement is still there really speaks volumes. I just wanted to go back for a second. You said you started as an agent, right?
Yes.
What does that mean, an agent, to our viewers?
I took inbound customer calls, and I provided customer service. So I would be on the other end of our customers' calls. I would answer, take detailed messages, and make sure they go to the right people. If they wanted to be connected right away for a new client, I would make sure I'm connecting. Get the attorney. I'm like, good morning. I have so-and-so on the line. Would you like the call? They say yes or no. So yeah, it was exciting stuff. And I loved it. Loved it.
No, yeah. you definitely have the demeanor and the personality for it. But I love that. I mean, that's the crux and the heart of the business, right? So the fact that you're in HR now, hiring other people involved in their onboarding process, but you've done the work, you've done the job. So I'm sure you could answer any question that pops up, including all of my questions. And speaking of questions, over 10 years, obviously, Answering Legal has seen tremendous growth. Thousands of law firms have signed up with you guys. What do you believe are the keys to the success that Answering Legal has had, the sustained success, the consistency, you might say?
So I think it's really how we operate with our customers. We're very transparent and we're customizable, whereas other people in the industry may not have that leg up. As our customers' business grows, we grow with them. We can make changes. We can add people to their account. We can take people off their account. I also think Rob Brooke and our COO, Alyssa Carty, are really into making sure employees feel valued and trusted, and they give us the trust, which in turn makes us work harder, and that helps their business grow because everyone is working towards the same goal. It's not just we're making our paycheck. We actually are excited to watch Answering Legal succeed.
Wow, I love that. I wish we need to bottle you and make Answering Legal commercials with your anecdotes and your experience. Well, I have to touch upon a few things that you said there. You mentioned the customization, right? Because two parts to that answer. You talked about the customization with obviously the customer, right? The client, but then you also pivoted and told us about the loyalty to their employees. So let's talk about the customization first, which is key to, I think, the longevity of Answering Legal. Tell us more about what you mean by that, because for people not sure of how answering services work, that trumps everything.
Yeah. So, the law industry has so many different branches where you're just a bankruptcy attorney or you're a criminal attorney. And that type of call needs to be handled completely different. So we recognize that, and each customer is asked, what is the basics that you need from this caller? And they tell us, and then we give our expertise saying, hey, that's a great start. I think you should add, maybe what county did they get arrested in, or what time of day did this happen? Are they currently incarcerated? Different questions. And then, like, or a bankruptcy, those cases aren't really urgent per se. So you don't need to be patched after hours for those types of calls. And the questions could form, how much money are you in debt? Do you have credit card debt? So we can ask any question our customer needs, which makes us unique because they're getting that as a text message or an email. And instead of calling the caller back and saying, hey, I saw you were arrested, but they'll see they were arrested for XYZ, all the information needed. So it's saving time and it's saving money.
Yeah. And I think what you said is so key because there's so many different types of law, right? Different types of intake, different ways to handle cases, right? Unless you're in the legal profession, you wouldn't really know the nuances to it. So I think it's really important for people maybe on the fence about an answering service per se, to know that it's not one size fits all, and every client has a different way of working with you guys, which is truly remarkable when you think about the volume of business that you guys do that you can customize so specifically, right? Because it's not just a mass volume, a mass kind of client type of business.
Exactly. So it's cool to see because, like I said, I had no idea what an answering service was, and seeing the back end of it, how easy it could be done just to make a few changes, and it could just be such a game changer for your business by us asking one simple question or three simple questions. So it's cool. It's cool to be active.
Absolutely. And also, like you said, they have an idea of what intake is, and then you add your specialties kind of from dealing with so many different clients, right? And you learn on the job, and you're thinking, hey, we work with a similar firm to yours, and this avenue really helped, asking this follow-up, right? It's like more cooks in the kitchen is better, right? Because you have all this comprehensive experience. Now, I wanted to go back to the other point, Gina, that you mentioned as a reason to the consistency and the success long-term of Answering Legal. And you mentioned how Rob and Brooke, who we should say are the founders of Answering Legal, you mentioned their names, who are terrific. We're going to talk about them in a few minutes. But you talked about how they treat their employees. Tell us a little bit more about that experience, because I think as someone possibly, wanting to come on board as a client, that really speaks volumes as well as to what kind of a company you guys are. If they're going to treat their employees well, just as well as they treat me, that's the kind of place I want to be in business with.
Yeah, I mean, they care about us, and it's genuine. It's not the facade that some owners of a business have in these days and ages, but they trust us. And when I say that is they'll trust people in, like me, the VP of HR, to manage different parts of the business. And it's good because when I'm getting that trust, I want to work triple as hard to make sure I do not disappoint them. And I think that is key to why we were able to move so many like mountains per se in the last 10 years, because all the people that are behind the scenes are working so hard. And it's because Rob and Brooke taught us to, and they trust us to. So I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, I think, like you said, trust is key, right? It's letting you take the ball and run with it, having that faith in you, that trust to say, we believe
that's a better
in you.
Word, safe. And it just gives us the reinsurance, and it gives me the what's the word I'm looking for? Not the independence, but maybe the courage to do this on my own and make these decisions and be able to represent the business in the best way possible.
Totally. Courage, autonomy, all of that. When a boss says, hey, do your thing, right? You don't have that pressure of someone constantly looking over your shoulder. And obviously the performance of your performance, the performance of the company, they must be doing something right. So if it's not broken, why fix it? I wanted to take a moment, Gina, to talk about common misconceptions that exist with phone answering services, right? And what you guys do differently. So tell us and like you said, you didn't know much about answering services. So tell us what you think the biggest misconceptions are, and tell us what's going on really behind the scenes.
What makes us different is we do not outsource anything. Our call center is all in the United States. Every employee is very well versed in legal terms, so they know the difference of if someone says, oh, I have a Chapter 13, they're going to know that's a bankruptcy case. if they know how to spell the word subpoena, which is really hard to spell, I'm telling you. It's a very hard word to nail down.
Yep.
So they have a legal knowledge, and it makes the conversation when you call easier. Other call centers have set scripts, and if you're veering off that script, the agent is just like, okay, I'm sorry. Was I able to answer all your questions today? It's kind of like there is no resolution. And our agents aren't helping fight crime, or they're not getting the legal answers maybe the client needs at that time, but they're getting a message taken, detailed information, and they're making the caller feel like they were heard. And a lot of these callers are either calling in tears, they're frustrated, they're high stress, and our agents are able to de-escalate them to a sense where they feel like they got a message to the attorney and someone is going to call them back, which I think sets us apart from other call centers, whereas when you're calling, you're really not getting a resolution, or you're waiting on hold for 2 hours.
Right.
It's not like that here.
Yeah. So many things you said. Obviously, it's not outsourced. And also just having that legal knowledge and that breadth of knowledge and the lingo and being able to speak the language. And as you said, someone on the other line gets that, right? Because, in the news business, we have things called evergreen questions, which are questions you could ask to any piece, any story, any person. It doesn't matter what you're talking about, right? But that's the opposite of what you guys are doing. You're not employing any evergreen questions. Everything is specific, and you're reacting to what they're saying. There is no script, which really is really invaluable, hard to put into words, pun intended.
Right. And another part of it is, unless you request otherwise, we are in the mindset of we are working in your office, and the caller on the other end has no idea they're reaching an answering service. So that's different too, because if you call in with a new case and you say you have chapter 13 and the agent goes, okay, and what's a chapter 13? That's going to discourage the caller on the other line. Like, how does this person not know what I'm talking about? So that's why we are a little bit unique, because our agents know how to manage a call and how to capture that new client.
Absolutely. And speaking of managing a call, tell us about that process, Gina. I understand, obviously, being there for over 10 years, you've been involved with the virtual receptionist training process.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about it and why you think it works so well. Can you speak to the specificity that you just mentioned regarding intake?
Yeah, so a big part of it is, we're never leaving anybody on their own. And it's important because each call is so unique. They'll take 10 calls back to back, and every single call is completely different. And each caller on the other line has a different attitude, tone, or a different type of need. So it is important that we are always monitoring and watching and helping. We have so many tools for our agents with like a little FAQ type stuff. We also have there at any hour of the day, because we are open 24/7.
Right.
Any hour of the day, they have someone on with them that they can call for help. And I think that's special because when I was an agent and I first started, I was so nervous to talk to these callers because it's a new thing. It's something I've never heard of. And I was so nervous, and I'm not someone that gets nervous talking. So it was a shock for me, but having someone to ask questions and to just look to if I needed help made it so much easier. And, once they start taking calls, they start to get the flow and they understand. But we would never leave one of our new agents. We don't throw anyone to the wolves. Everyone, before they start taking live calls, they are fully trained and they have everything they need for them to succeed.
That's amazing. And so it sounds like there's a lot of internal support.
So much. More than necessary, I would say sometimes, but that's good because no one's ever left to figure it out on their own.
Yeah. What do you think is kind of the biggest surprise when you look back? It's learning a new language, right? Intake questions, even some of the things you said, people may not know chapter 13, all these different ways to say something differently compared to layman's terms. So what do you think surprised you the most just looking back at your own personal journey?
I think surprising the most was like how slow the law industry actually is and how people don't really understand that. And that's why a lot of these attorneys get really angry callers all the time. Like I know that some of their clients call back to back to back to back to back until they pick up because I've been on the other end of it. And it's something that surprised me how a case could take up to 5 years, depending on what type of case it is. So that's something I learned and I was a little shocked by. But in general, for answering services, how much of a need there is for an answering service for this industry alone. Because, we could take 500 calls for one attorney in one day. And there's no way, even if they had a staff of 30, they would not be able to handle that intake. So that was also what surprised me of how, like, I couldn't believe I've never heard of this. Like, I was like, why wasn't this a thing forever? Like, doctors' offices have a call center and an answering service, but attorneys need them just as much.
Completely. Yep. And like, we've all been on that other side when when you're getting an answering service from a doctor's office specifically, and it's so cold, right? And it's like, did you hear me? Did you get that? Like, just evergreen. It's just it's very cookie cutter. Something I wanted to pick up upon that you mentioned earlier, Gina, is that it's amazing that the caller on the other end of the line does not know that you don't work for the firm, for that law firm that they're trying to get a hold of. I mean, how do you, and you guys have many operators, many agents standing by. How do you ensure that, right? That everyone sounds like they're a part of the firm they're representing. Give us one little nugget.
So, part of it is just reminding our agents, like, you are an extension of the attorney. You are not trying to provide customer service per se to the caller. Yes, they have to be kind, polite, and they cannot be rude to anybody, but like, they need to remind themselves, like, they are the extension of the law firm. And just because that caller is unhappy doesn't mean you need to match that energy. You just have to take a step back and say, I'm so sorry, but the attorney is unavailable. We will do our best to have him call you as soon as possible, or she, So I think that's something that is unique for this type of call center. And we never trick the callers. We're not lying. If they ask, sometimes we volunteer that information depending on what you want. If you want us to say, nope, we are in the office, we're an extension, we have no problem doing that.
Right.
But, part of it is we are so good at answering each call and knowing exactly what our customer wants that the caller has no idea.
Yeah. And I love too, again, it's, the client, the law firm, the client, they have a say in tweaking things, right? Kind of just those little details that you just mentioned, right? What's right for me might not be right for the next guy. So it's really important to know that it's a partnership. It's not you guys going by a script. This is how we do it. It's something that's fluid, that evolves.
Right. We love to adapt with our customers, and maybe we would suggest, hey, we don't think this is going to work, but we're like, let's try it anyway. Let's see what the feedback is. And that's a big part of it. We have, like, our support team too is always reachable. So if a customer is unhappy, or I wouldn't say unhappy, is not satisfied with the way their account is set up, we are changing that within minutes. Like, that is being taken care of, and we are making sure your account is matching what your needs are.
Absolutely incredible. Just hearing that, right? Like, the customer service is so right there, spot on. Nothing's being pushed to the weekend. 2 questions. My first was, you mentioned kind of you're dealing with people on the other end of the line that are emotional, right? Yeah. They've just been through a huge life-changing experience. It's hard to know how anybody would communicate under those circumstances. Looking back at your time and in the training process, what is your best advice to agents to deal with someone on the other line who's clearly emotional, maybe hysterical? How do you navigate that?
Well, part of it is, remind yourself, like, you cannot offer any help to this caller. You can be nice and kind, but you cannot put yourself in their shoes, because that will just ruin the whole call. So you just want to, like, respect their feelings and validate them, but you have to maintain that separation, because you have to get the necessary details on that call, because you don't want the call to run on for 20 plus minutes. So you have to figure out a way to kind of separate yourself from their emotions, be polite, but also get what's needed for our customer.
Right.
Some of our accounts, like, if someone's really upset, or if that's an emergency, we'll patch it through, and that means we'll just call the customer right away and say, we have so-and-so on the line, they are in hysterics, something is happening, do you want to take the call? And they'll decide. Yeah.
And that's great that you have that option, right? That sometimes that accessibility is key. It's been quite a busy few years for the company, the app, new integrations, new features. How exciting is that for you as someone who's been there for more than 10 years to see Answering Legal really innovating more than ever, adapting to the digital age and doing it so smoothly?
It's been really exciting because from the beginning, we've had all these grand ideas, and watching them come into actual tangible things has been so cool to see. And also, the people around me have been with me since the beginning too, and watching them have all these actual projects and goals come to life has been so exciting to see. And I've been so proud of everybody. It's been really cool to be a part of.
Amazing. I just love the consistency of like the people you've worked with. It sounds like a family. It really does.
Yeah, and I know the trend right now is when your employer says your family, red flag, but that is not the case here. Rob and Brooke are genuine to us, and if you work hard for them, they are reciprocating that towards you. And so many of us have been here since the beginning. We all started in our 20s, low 20s. We were all in college, and we're all here. This is our career, and I'm never leaving. And I
Amazing.
know the people around me are never leaving either.
Incredible. You don't hear people speak like that often, right? Testaments to the loyalty, to the brand, to the people that you work for. So curious, Gina, just to pick up for a second to hear more about the app. If I'm a customer who's been with you for years and didn't have the app and now I do, how are things easier for me? What does it provide?
So everything's really centralized. I personally like using an app for different things I do because everything is in one place. So if you're getting all your messages in the app, you can, mark something as read or leave something as priority so you know to go back to it. It's still the same as managing an inbox,
Yeah.
but a lot of the attorneys are on the go. They're in the courtroom all the time. So having that, it's almost like an inbox for an email, but in an app form. And, you can have different people in your law firm on this same app getting the same messages. So it's really just centralizing all the data you're getting, and it's visually pleasing.
Sounds amazing. It really does. I mean, think about it. Any place you use an app for, right? In our daily lives, we know how it facilitates things and it makes things
Yeah.
easier. So I can imagine as a firm, as a busy lawyer, the facilitation you guys are providing with the app. Wanted to ask you about anyone who's considering pursuing a career at Answering Legal. You've mentioned what a terrific place it is to work, the loyalty, how much you love the family that you're surrounded with by literally. It is not cliche, but it really is family run, and you do treat your employees like family. So tell us what you would say to someone who's aspiring to be a part of the company.
Yeah, I mean, definitely apply. We hire for many different positions. The coolest part about Answering Legal, and I'm surprised I didn't mention this earlier, we love to promote from within. So everybody who is in this company has started either as an agent or a salesman, the entry level positions, and everyone who's in these upper management and other levels of the company have all been at the bottom level and know what it takes for for us to be successful. So I think that's really cool to be a part of, and it teaches you so much. You learn every aspect of the business here. So I'm in HR, but I know a little bit about sales. I know a little bit about tech support. I know a little bit about customer service. So if you're interested in growing in your career and learning different skills, definitely apply here because you learn so much in such a short amount of time. And it's cool if you're in the legal industry, maybe you're going to school to be a lawyer, apply, be an agent. It's so cool to learn different legal terms and hear different types of calls. And I think it'll make you a better attorney listening to all the different types of scenarios an attorney gets in one day.
Yeah, I think it's rare that you find a company where everyone has started at the proverbial bottom, so to speak, and worn so many hats, right?
Mhm.
Because it really just helps you grow. And when you move from the next position, having that experience and being in that person's shoes speaks volumes. And I think that's rare. And I do think that's what separates you and sets you guys apart from the competition, right? Because of
Yeah.
the comprehensive nature of how you guys have all grown and worked together and kind of just acquired these skills that maybe another agent at another firm really has never been in those shoes. So how would they know, right? It just gives you that extra spark, right, to help the client.
Right. And I'm speaking for myself, but it's not just about the paycheck. It's about the business. And I
Yeah.
know that my coworkers will say the same. So it's
Mhm.
really cool to be a part of. It's like I'm so grateful to be part of this team.
Finally, you mentioned Brooke and Rob Shatlis is their last name a couple times. They are the founders of the company. They've made the company what it is today. Tell us a bit more, and you can see it in your face and how when you mention them, how you speak to them. But tell us what it's like working with them, a little bit more, what kind of bosses they are, and why you think the company is a reflection of them as a success.
So, we're 24/7 as a business, but so are Rob and Brooke. They are never too busy to help us. Rob is never too busy to help a customer. If someone's saying, I need to speak to Rob, Rob is calling the customer. He's not delegating that to anybody. And I say that because he is at the top level, and that is rare to see. He'll make the time to make a customer feel seen and acknowledged, and Brooke will help any employee no matter what time of day, no matter what the question is. There are no stupid questions to her. And it is important because that's how I grew. I grew by asking her questions. She's been such a great mentor to so many people in this company, and we're all very successful in our jobs and our positions because of Brooke.
Yeah, and it's just the humanity that they have. I mean, so many things you said there that I'm picking up. They're just their warmth, their accessibility.
Yes.
How real they are, how accessible they are. So many companies, you have the C-suite at the top who don't get involved, don't get their hands dirty.
No.
Rob and Brooke couldn't be the opposite. They're involved every level. If you need them, they're there 24/7. And that really says it all, Gina, that Rob picks up the phone and calls the client themselves if they need something done. I mean, how often do you experience that? Think about any company out there. When you have an issue, do you really get a call from the guy, the head of the company saying, I hear you, we're listening, what can I do to help? Amazing.
And even aside from that, I've listened to him talk to our customers, and he knows their first names. He knows details about them. It's not fake. His connection to our customers is very real.
Yeah. And you really can't teach that. That's him as a person and kind of all elements of his life, right? And it just work is no different. So it's just really nice to hear that humanity has translated into what their business has become, and it's made kind of so many mini Robs and Brooks, right? At Answering Legal.
Exactly. We are an extension of them, and I am so proud to be under Brooke because she is such a great businesswoman, and she's so caring, and she's so smart, and she teaches all of us her characteristics. You said it perfectly. We are mini Robs and Brooks.
Yeah. And just also that I just want to hone in on the accessibility as well. I just love that there are no stupid questions. It's such a remarkable, idea to posit at a company, right? Like, raise your hand. Like, if you need to ask something 10 times, do it, right? If you don't understand it, tell me. We'll go over it forwards, backwards, forwards till you feel comfortable. And I think that really is a rarity, right? Because nowadays people don't have the time to do that, but they're taking the time to invest in you to make sure you're comfortable. Their door is always open. And given the success of the company, it's worked.
Yeah, I think that's also a great way to put it. They have invested in us, and we know that, and that is why they are successful. Part of why they're successful. Yeah. Most of it is their hard work, but also because they've invested so much in us, we've all shown up for them.
Absolutely. And they have heart. And I think anyone who's considering signing up with an answering service, a legal answering service, you want to know that, right? You're dealing with Rob and Brooke and the staff like yourself. You're dealing with people with heart who are human and really do want the best of you. And that's come through today so much. So, I mean, I know if you want to be in good hands, and if I need someone answering my calls, you want someone with your level of humanity is the word, and warmth, right? Warmth is really the word that comes to mind. Exactly. Because the law can be cold, but the answering services don't need to be. And you guys are well proof of that.
I love that.
Yeah. Gina, I want to thank you for your time today. I know you're busy. You guys are doing a lot over there behind the scenes, but I just want to say thank you. It's so commendable what you guys do day in and day out. And thanks for just kind of giving us an inside track as to how the business works and why you love it so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has been fun.
Awesome. And that's all the time we have for this episode of Inside Answering Legal. If you want to learn more about our company, check out our website, answeringlegal.com. And of course, stay tuned to future episodes of this podcast. All episodes of Inside Answering Legal can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and the Answering Legal YouTube channel. I'm TWB. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.